Hey, we're in the wrong place. Hey, you know what? I'm glad you guys are back. We've been talking about faith this whole entire month. We're on week 3, and faith is trusting in what you can't see because of what you can see. And I hope you've been talking about that at home and talking about our questions and doing some of the activities.
So
it's been
last week you said that Paul got his sight back, but I don't think that happened in the story.
You know what? You're right. I got ahead of myself because I've heard that story and I got so excited
It's a good story
about what happened because I knew what happens through the end. And so I said too far of what's going on. Today we're actually going to hear about how Paul gets his sight back. So really I just kind of told a little bit of what happened.
It's like a preview.
But Paul gets his sight back in today's story. But he's following Jesus at that point. But before he followed Jesus, he tried to stop everyone from following Jesus.
Throw him in jail and
And then he starts following Jesus and trying to tell people about Jesus, and everybody was like, "Wait a minute, are you trying to trick us?"
I feel like
So because of that, it made things kind of difficult for Paul. And we're going to see how all of that plays out in today's story. Now, before we get to that part, I have another game for us to do. And we're going to do you guys versus Mr. Justin again. See who can do the best. And in this game, you can also play against your family. We're going to look at things like really close up. In fact, one of the ways that we can focus on stuff is you can use a microscope. And a microscope helps you to look at little bitty things really close and zoom in on them. And so I'm going to show you guys some pictures of some things that are zoomed all the way in really close. And you have to guess what they are. And we'll see if you can get it right or if Mr. Justin can get it right. So I have these pictures here. And we're going to see who can get the most points. And so picture number 1 right here. Check this out. Mr. Justin, what do you think this is? And you guys can guess at home. If you know it, yell it out. We're only going to give you a few seconds.
I'm going to go with a piece of hair.
A piece of hair.
So I just feel like that's, I've seen it in the Head and Shoulders commercials before.
Okay.
It's got
so time up, and you know what? Mr. Justin was actually right. This is a piece of hair, and I wouldn't have gotten that. It looks kind of like a broken off stick or something to me. But we are talking about things that are zoomed way in, and so let's look at the next one. Here you go, guys. Number 2. Let's see if you can get this right. Here is this next slide. You got like 5 seconds to guess.
Zoomed in, because I'm thinking that this is like
3,
Minesweeper,
2, 1.
which is probably way before everybody's time. But
oh, so you think it's a zoomed in of the Minesweeper? I've played that game a lot. You were wrong. That is pollen. You know, the stuff that gets in your nose and makes you sneeze?
Yep.
It kind of makes sense with those little sticky spikes all over it. But pollen. And if you guessed it right, you get a point. Mr. Justin did not get a point, so you have 1 point. And we'll see how many points they have. Here is the next one. This one's kind of interesting looking. You guys got like 5 seconds to do this, and we'll see how good you are at guessing stuff.
Zoomed in
3,
on a rock,
2,
on a tooth, on a
1. Time.
Nothing.
Guess what, Mr. Justin? You're right. It's a tooth.
Yeah.
That looks so gross. That looks like the nastiest tooth, but that may be what everybody's teeth look like zoomed in.
They may need to.
That's gross. I don't know if you got it. Hopefully you did. But we're going to move on to the next image. Here we go. What do you think this one is? All right. Here you go. You got like just a few more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Cheeseburger.
Time. Cheeseburger.
That's all I can think of.
Okay, I see like the sesame seed
bun.
Sesame seed bun. Actually, it's zoomed way in.
Yep. Okay.
And it's a strawberry.
I mean, I was close. Strawberry cheeseburger. It's like the same food group.
I don't think so. Okay, hopefully you got that. Mr. Justin, you have 2 points. And maybe you have more than him. We'll see. We're going to keep going. Here you go. This is the next image. This one's really kind of hard to get. So you got a few. Think about zoomed way in. What could this be?
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I think that it's a piece of a t-shirt.
Piece of a t-shirt.
With the cool colors on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Time's up.
Time's up.
And
nailed it.
Mr. Justin is wrong. This one's gross, actually. That is zoomed in on a used piece of floss, dental floss. So I'm guessing the blue on that is the floss, and the purple is like something from somebody's teeth.
Is probably the teeth that we saw earlier. They used
All right,
that.
so here we go. Here's another one. That one's cool looking.
It's pretty cool. I think. Okay, so I'm gonna go with
3, 2,
a cucumber.
1. That is an excellent guess.
Yep.
But you're wrong.
What?
Yeah. It is an onion.
Oh.
It's an onion. That picture is a picture of an onion. I don't know if you got it right. Hopefully you did. Mr. Justin, how many points do you have?
You know, it's when we've had 4 slides, and
2?
so
No, I think we've had like 5 or 6
okay,
slides.
we've had
2? 2 points. Okay, maybe you can get this one. Here we go. This one's kind of hard. I think this is like when you're laying on the beach and you're looking through
palm trees.
Palm trees,
Yeah.
but it's zoomed in.
Zoomed in.
So that wouldn't be a zoomed in image. So it's not palm tree. So what do you think that this is? You got like 3 seconds. 3,
eyelashes.
2, 1, time.
Cheeseburger.
That is an awesome guess. Eyelashes, but it's not right. It is zoomed in on a feather. Yeah. Kind of interesting.
I'm zoomed in on losing this one.
Yep. All right, this is one of my favorites. So here we go. Next image.
I'm just gonna throw some stuff out there.
Here you go. What do you think it is?
I'm gonna go with candy. I'm gonna go with
3.
It's rocks.
2.
It's sand.
1.
It's
Time. Dude, it's sand. You got it right. Yeah. This is sand. When you zoom way in on sand, it's all different little
That's pretty cool.
tiny pieces of stuff.
Looks brown to us.
Yeah. So they're saying, okay, this is the last one. This is my favorite image. What do you think this is? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not zoomed in Pac-Man.
Okay, that's cool because you know when I'm feeling happy, like from this movie.
Because I'm so happy.
All right, it's Minions. It's obviously
it's
a minion.
It's zoomed in on a minion.
It's obviously zoomed in on a minion.
Okay, well I'm gonna. Time's up.
Okay.
This is not zoomed in on a minion. But what's really awesome is all of the zoomed in. It looks like smiley face emojis
It's
all over it.
All over it.
But it is. This is actually what it looks like through a microscope on a piece of grass.
Huh?
A piece of grass. Like St. Augustine grass. I think St. Augustine, but a certain type of grass has smiley faces all in it.
All I'm saying is,
Which makes me like happy, and it makes me go,
I'm
God
happy,
is super cool.
You're happy. The grass is
The
happy.
grass is happy.
I mean,
You know why it's happy? Because it got water and sun, and it's green, and it's just happy.
and it has faith the sun's gonna come up the next day.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so it's just like, hey, I'm good.
Yeah, we are good on that. That was a fun game.
It was a
And
fun
you
game.
got some right that you were surprised
I'm
about.
very surprised about.
Hopefully you guys got a bunch of those right too. And we're gonna move on to where you get. We're not gonna keep you from our story because we want you to see what happens with Paul. And but before we do that, we gotta stand up and we gotta dance it out. Oh, he's got some moves today. We're gonna dance, we're gonna sing, stand up, and we're gonna have some fun. So we're gonna dance. And let me see what I got here. I like to move this. This one right here.
What was I doing earlier?
I'm too old for this.
Every time I hear this groove, it makes me wanna move. Must be a feeling it brings to you that makes you do what you do. Every time I hear this groove, it makes me wanna move. Must be a feeling it brings to you that makes you do what you do.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now for an amazing story, inspired by the book of Acts, chapter 9, verses 10 through 31.
Ananias, a believer in the city of Damascus, paced the floor of his room.
What will we do, Lord?
Several days before, the Jesus followers in Damascus had received terrible news.
Saul of Tarsus is on his way. He has permission from the high priest to arrest anyone who follows the way of Jesus and take them to Jerusalem.
Ananias shivered as he stared at his door.
Why haven't we heard anything yet?
He knew that at any moment, guards could knock on his door. A voice could shout out his name.
Ananias.
Ananias had nearly jumped out of his skin. And then he quickly realized that the voice hadn't come from outside. It hadn't come from inside either. There was only one person it could be.
Yes? Lord?
Yep, Ananias knew that this was a vision from God. So he took a deep breath and waited for what the Lord had to say.
Go to the house of Judas on Straight Street. Ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul.
Ananias gasped in shock. God wanted him to seek out his enemy?
Saul is praying. In a vision, he has seen a man come and place his hands on him so he could see again. That man's name is Ananias.
A million thoughts tumbled through Ananias' head. At last, he found his voice.
I've heard many reports about this man. They say he has done great harm to your people in Jerusalem. Now he has come here to arrest all those who worship you.
It must have seemed like a home run argument to Ananias, but God responded.
Go. I have chosen this man to work for me. He will announce my name to the Gentiles and to their kings. He will also announce my name to the people of Israel.
Well, okay, here goes.
So Ananias grabbed his cloak and hurried through the dusty city. But as he finally reached Straight Street, his steps slowed. He forced himself to breathe evenly as he approached the home of Judas.
Help me, Jesus. Give me the words to say.
Ananias stood in front of the door for a long moment, gathering courage. Then he knocked. Boom, boom, boom.
What do you want?
Ananias shared his vision. As Judas led Ananias through the house, Judas explained,
Saul won't eat or drink anything, not since they led him here 3 days ago.
Ananias peered into the back room. A man was kneeling there, his hands knotted in prayer. And even though the man's eyes were open, they didn't focus on anything.
Who's there?
Before he could lose his nerve, Ananias went straight to Saul and put his hands on Saul's shoulders.
Brother Saul, you saw the Lord Jesus. He appeared to you on the road as you were coming here. He has sent me so that you will be able to see again. You will be filled with the Holy Spirit.
As Saul blinked in surprise, something like scales dropped from his eyes.
My eyes! I can see!
Saul leapt to his feet and faced Ananias.
I need to be baptized. This instant!
Now Saul, also known as Paul, had always been relentless in his quest to wipe out the believers. But now that he himself had met Jesus, he was equally determined to share the good news. Within days, he started preaching at Jewish synagogues.
Jesus is the Son of God. Isn't Saul the man who caused great trouble in Jerusalem for those who worship Jesus? Hasn't he come here to take them as prisoners?
Though Saul now believed in Jesus, he still had much to learn, and he wanted to discover all the answers himself with God's help. So he spent several years studying the scriptures, and after that time, he came back teaching and preaching about Jesus as fiery as ever.
Jesus is the Messiah. He fulfills every promise in Scripture.
The Jews in Damascus and even the governor of the city were angry at all the upset Saul was causing.
Time for him to sleep with the fishes, shall we say?
They made plans to capture and kill Saul, but Saul and his friends discovered the plot.
It appears they've even guarded the gates.
That leaves the windows.
Saul's friends led him to a home built into the city wall. When it was dark, they brought out a large basket.
You gotta be kidding me.
You really want to try the gates?
Saul stepped into the container, and his friends lowered him out the window and down the wall on a rope.
Never thought I'd end up as a basket case.
Once safely out of Damascus, Saul set out for Jerusalem.
Home sweet home.
When he arrived in Jerusalem, Saul immediately tried to join the group of believers there, but they were afraid of him at first. One man, Barnabas, had already heard Saul's story.
Cheer up, man. I know you're the real deal. Let me take you to the apostles.
So Barnabas did exactly as he promised. He took Saul to Peter and James and the other leaders of the early church and told them the whole story. So Saul stayed with the believers in Jerusalem and preached there just as boldly as he'd done in Damascus. And once again, a group of Jews became upset with him.
Someone send that man to sleep with the fishes.
But once again, the believers helped Saul escape. This time he went back to his hometown of Tarsus to wait for God's next directions. In the meantime, the group of believers in Judea and Samaria continued to grow through the power of God's Spirit.
All right. Hey, welcome back. Glad that you hung out and watched the video, and hopefully you showed us some awesome dance moves. Today's story I really like because we found out what I had already kind of given away, that Paul gets his sight back and then tries to start telling people about Jesus, but nobody believes him.
No, it gets a little difficult.
And they're all afraid of him. And that would be really tough, but something happened that like helped him out a little
He had
bit.
a friend. Friends are good to have.
Friends are great to have, especially when they stick up for you.
Right.
And he didn't really know Barnabas at the time, but Barnabas stuck up for Paul. And then if you read more of Paul's story, Paul and Barnabas actually became really good friends, and that's how it all started, which is pretty awesome. And they both spent most of the rest of their lives telling people about Jesus.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's back to the first. I mean,
Yep,
there's
back
the original people, and it's just...
That's what the whole point was. In all of last month, we talked about why it's important. Jesus told everybody, tell everybody about him. And because all of them did that, me and you get to know about Jesus today. But, you know, the question that we want y'all to talk about at home today is the same thing that, like, what happened to everybody around Paul. Because they saw somebody that tried to stop Christians, and then he starts talking about following Jesus.
Weird.
They didn't believe him because of what they had seen and what they had heard. And so they were afraid of him. So here's what I want you to talk about with your family and stuff. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? And you may have all kinds of different fears. I'm afraid of being like way out in the middle of a big body of water. It doesn't have, not just the ocean, but it could be a lake, like all by myself with like not a boat or anything else like that.
Like dog paddling.
I'm always like afraid something's gonna come up from the bottom of the water and get me, and I'm like, no. What are you afraid of?
Let's see. You know, there are things. Snakes. We'll go with snakes.
Snakes? I don't like snakes.
I don't like snakes. I think that's probably my number one, you know, in that order.
Big fears?
Big fears.
Yeah.
Is the snakes. And it doesn't matter. They can be little bitty, you know, garden snakes.
I'm afraid of snakes, but like if I see a snake from a long way away, I'm not afraid of it, and I can like get close to it because I can see him and I can see what he's doing.
I'm like, snake a long way away. You need to go the other way because I'm running this way.
You go even further.
Like,
they don't bother me when I see them first, but when they surprise me, I scream like high pitched, like ah!
Yeah.
Run away.
Yeah.
Like the snake that swam behind me last month. Ooh, that would have freaked me out.
I screamed
if I would have seen him.
I screamed watching him.
Yeah. So talk about what you're afraid of, and then also if you haven't said your memory verse, then we want you to practice and say it. Come tell us on Sunday if you're here, and if not, have your parents record it and then put it on social media. And I remember I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again today, but leaders and adults, I'm going to do another drawing for you guys if you'll post yourselves saying your verse on the social media page. You got to post it on there, and I'll do a drawing for a prize. So Mr. Justin, you can win the prize if you say the verse.
Do I get my name in the hat every time we air this video?
No, you only get it in the hat once. But why don't you tell them the verse one more time, and you can look up on the at home page and get the verse. And I actually get the family guide activity at the at home page for elementary and for intermediate. And then, like I said, post it on social media. There's an intermediate Facebook page and an elementary Facebook page. We'd love for you to post a video of you saying the verse there. But you need to know what the verse is if you don't know it yet. So, Mr. Justin, tell them the verse.
So the verse is, faith is being sure of what we hope for. It is being sure of what we do not see. Hebrews 11:1.
All right, and that one's not too hard. So practice it, say it. We're going to do a drawing, give away prizes. Can't wait to do that. Excited to see you. If I get to see y'all on Sunday, that's going to be awesome. And we will see you next time. Bye. Adios. You know, I thought about this thing. Kind of looks like a phone, but it's not. It's a camera. But it looks like an old-timey phone, right? He's like, ah! Freaking out.
It's time to go. Yes, ma'am. The microphone's still on. Sorry.
Oopsie.
Underneath the back seat, and it was like spooled up. I mean, we tore the entire garage apart.
We found it, though.
Yeah, we found it. After we went to the store with that snake in the car.
I'm out.
Yeah. There's no way it got in here. Read it the first time, right?
All right.
If this is one of the outtakes, she's gonna be like, really? Smack. Came to check the bucket.
Oh, we're making good time on this.
The things that I fear the most, my wife, number one. And then snakes are pretty far behind, but they're number two.
What are you most afraid of? My wife.
My wife. My number one fear is my wife. That way we choose. This is how you talk about me to your friends? Okay.